Today on the We Invested podcast, we have Jermane Cheathem, the founder and CEO of Creators Learn. Jermane, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Wesley. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. And before we get started, would you mind letting the people know how they can find you on social media, your website, or wherever you are on the internet?
Yeah, so as far as social, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's my main spot. So just look me up on LinkedIn, or you can find me at creatorslearn.com, like creator of the universe, creatorslearn.com.
I like that. And just to start it off, man, on a good note, man, on some high energy right now. You mentioned that you were in a specific location. I don't know if we want to give that away, that specific country away, but I'll go ahead and say it if you don't mind. You in Colombia right now on the beach, living the dream life right now, man. And I'm like, I heard a little bit of your story, how you've been traveling for the past few years, just nonstop, and I'm like, that just motivated me instantly.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I never planned on being like a digital nomadic person. But when you plan and design your life around your ideal um, business, it opens up doors for you to be able to do stuff that you didn't even know was on the docket. So when I first got into my current line of work, this was never a plan of mine. It just started to fall into place once I started taking those steps down that dark path that I didn't want to go down, but I had to go down. And as I took those steps and I was able to see one foot in front of the next, other paths open up for me that I couldn't see on my first step. And so I always believe it's very important to challenge yourself from your fears, and all these other doors start open up for you. So yeah, I'm in Colombia. I've been in 40 plus countries over the last 3 or so years, and I travel slow. I'm not traveling a week at a time. I'm traveling 3 months at a time. So I'm getting ingrained in the culture, and I'm actually understanding the people and how they think. And it gives me this holistic view of life and how human beings are very different, but very similar. And it just gives me a lot more clarity on business and life and my time here.
Absolutely, man. And that's the beauty of it. Just the different experiences and the different cultures and the different things that you get the chance to observe. Um, you mentioned earlier that you were from Arizona, born and raised in the US. But when now you're in your travels, you've been on the move for the past three to 4 years. What are some of the experiences or some moments that stuck with you, or some lessons that you learned while traveling and while being in these different countries?
The number one thing I realize is human beings at their core want the same thing. They want security, they want love, they want freedom, they want autonomy. That's what they all want, no matter where you go in the world, and no matter what the media tells you, or what your neighbor says, or your mom, or your church, or whatever. They all want the same thing, but they're highly susceptible to conditioning. And humans are easily manipulated and easily controlled by their culture, by their neighbors, by their friends, by their family, by their coworkers, by their race, by their political orientation, whatever. And so no matter where I go, I see more brainwashing. It just looks a little different, but everyone does the same thing. Everyone in every country to a certain degree is a sheep, and I am a sheep as well. But the key for me is I know I'm a sheep, so I can safeguard myself. I can catch myself getting into sheepish behavior and not go down that path. And so the number one thing I've learned is that humans copy other humans, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just know you're copying somebody else, and you can decide if you want to keep copying somebody or you want to write your own script. And it's just interesting how humans are, how they operate, and how many psychological missteps that they fall into just based on their conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, and that's an interesting perspective to have too. Um, and I'm sure that's like a huge connection that we all share. Cause like you said, you've been to different places, and you've experienced the different cultures, but you've just seen like everybody is conditioned to believe a certain thing, or everybody is conditioned to think a certain way. But that's the beauty of traveling right there, to see that, like, okay, we're all different. We may consume food differently, or have different types of entertainment, whatever the case may be. But at the core, we're still all humans. We still want the same thing. So we're still alike, even though we have our differences.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, 99% of people are exactly the same. It's just how it's expressed through the cultural conditioning. And so it's always important for me to see it clearly and then realize and decide, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep following things that I was taught as a young child into my adult life that just aren't serving me, or someone else's identity? And I don't care if it's about business or sales or marketing or whatever. If you tell yourself you're this, then you can't be that. Or if you tell yourself you're that, then you can't be this. So you get to pick, who you are, who you want to become, and create yourself. That's why the whole business is called Creators Learn, because entrepreneurs are creators. Salespeople are creators. That's the essence of what we do. And so learn how to create whatever the hell you want, because life is your playing field, really. Like, this is a game. So play the game, do what you want, go where you want, eat what you want, live how you want. We die. So it's like, it's such a silly way to live, to be tiptoeing through life just to safely arrive at death. Take some chances. Come on, you're gonna die no matter what. So you might as well live.
Absolutely. I mean, how would you say that growing up in Arizona impacted your outlook on life and success as a whole?
I don't think Arizona had anything to do with it. I think most of my entire life was predicated on the narratives that I created for myself to make sense of the world I was born into. And so I was basically abandoned by my biological dad at 2, and then also by my adopted father at 7. And so I grew up biracial. So I had a white mother, a white grandmother. And so here I am, this dark skinned kid that's 5. And everyone at school is like, well, where's your dad? Are you white? Are you black? I'm 5 years old. I don't know how to answer all this. And so I had to frame these different narratives in my head to figure out, okay, so who am I? What's the world all about? Because it seems very hostile. It seems like, fathers are leaving families. So if two fathers are willing to leave their family, what does that say about a complete stranger? What are they willing to do to me? And so when I had to frame these stories around my existence, I had to start challenging these stories because they weren't serving me as I got older. And so I had to start thinking, like, okay, is this really true that people are runners and they will abandon you and they can't be relied upon? Is this really true that people, who they are is their race or their gender or their nationality? Is this really true? And so I started testing these hypotheses out by doing stuff, by trying businesses, and the best way for me to do it was through sales, because you get a whole lot of rejection. And I want to see, like, am I likable? Will people accept me? Because when you have that hole in your heart from being abandoned, you're like, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I am worthless. And so, like, before I completely buy this story that I made up, let's test it. Let's go into business. Let's go into sales and see if people are who I think they are. And I was wrong. That was all just a narrative I made up in my mind. 99% of people are cool. They're friendly. They want to help you because they see you within them. Life's a mirror. And so if you show up as your best self, it doesn't matter. You can have no arms, no eyes, no teeth, no legs. If you show up as your best self, people are going to be attracted to you. It doesn't matter. And so I learned these lessons through sales and through business, that you decide who you want to be, you decide your narrative, you decide your identity, nobody else. And most of the time that we destroy ourselves and we cause all this pain within ourselves is because we create these false stories, these false identities that other people have imprinted on us or we imprinted on ourselves. And so Arizona really didn't have a huge role in any of that, because that could have happened anywhere in the world. I would say the United States played a pretty big role as far as the culture of the United States, and what they think is important and what they think is good and what they think is bad. So I was brainwashed from that point. But that's kind of my upbringing in a nutshell.
Absolutely. I mean, you just spoke about, you wanting to find yourself and be able to create your own narrative. So you felt like that outlet was sales, was marketing, was business, which leads me to my next question. And we kind of fast forward a little bit. But I want to ask, what is Creators Learn?
Yeah, so Creators Learn is an education platform, really. And what I have been able to do is create an extremely lucrative business over the last, 20 years, where I have created this lifestyle business where I can make as much money as I want, have all the free time I want, travel where I want. And all I'm doing at Creators Learn is teaching other people my exact business. And the business is in financial services. It's a specific niche within financial services. And it's kind of a secret because the financial industry, financing in general, they want to keep it a secret. They don't want everybody to know about it because it's lucrative and they have a corner on it. They've had a corner on it for 100 years. And why would they let that secret out? And so my goal is to let normal people that are good with people, that can communicate, that are friendly, that are hungry, to be able to capitalize on this industry and create a lifestyle just like mine, as far as income, as far as freedom. And that's what Creators Learn is all about, is teaching them my exact business model, giving them my A to Z blueprint, and let them run with it.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned that you've been able to cultivate, create, and develop a lifestyle business to where, you can travel, go where you want, you have that freedom, that autonomy. But I feel like something that's important in what you just said is that you've been building this business and creating this platform and this company for the past 20 years. So you're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, but it was a 20-year grind to understand, to perfect, to master, and to get to where you are today. But I want to understand, how did you get started in this industry? Like, what was the initial spark that that just caught your attention?
It was luck. It was complete luck. I originally got a job with Wells Fargo coming out of school, and my true nature came out like a week before I was supposed to start, because I went to my boss and I said, "Listen, I think I'm worth more than what you're offering me. I want a higher starting salary." And he rescinded the offer. He told me to kick rocks, and so now I'm left with no job, no other options, and I was really banking on that job, right? And so the only people that were hiring that I found was a sales job, doing 300 cold calls a day. And that was the last thing I wanted to do, because remember, I had this feeling of inadequacy. And the last thing I'm going to do is get rejected 300 times a day, cold calling people. But I knew I had to go down that dark cave, because I figured in my mind, hey, if I can do this, I can do anything. Like, if I can survive in this for a year and thrive in this and just see who I can become from this, then anything's possible. And that business was in this financial services niche. And so I got in there, I cut my teeth, I was doing all the calls. And over time, I realized there's a better way to do this business. And there's more efficient models than doing 300 cold calls. There's more leverage ways to play this game. And so I branched off and started my own brokerage and my own firm. And that's how I got started. So I was already in this particular niche. And I just realized, hey, I can do this better and have freedom, keep all my commissions, have all my time back, and have the autonomy to travel. And it was on a trip. I took my mom to Italy on her 60th birthday back in 2016. And I realized I didn't want to be working when I was in Italy. I wanted to be enjoying my time in Italy and not having to figure out, oh, I got to work on this deal or that deal. So during those 3 weeks, I really buttoned up my SOPs. I really found ways to find leverage and use automation to make the business extremely seamless. And we decided that we wanted to package this for anybody to use, because anybody can do this. This is not rocket science. There is nothing special about me. Trust me, if I couldn't talk to people, I would be out of business, because I have no other skill. This is it. And so during that trip, we tightened everything up and realized, hey, this is something that we could help people fulfill their dreams and actually do this on their own, using this blueprint, using this model. And that is kind of the origin story of Creators Learn, where we started this a couple of years ago, because I had all this years of experience, all these years of tinkering, all these years of trying and iterating and finding the best possible way to get this done. And the way the analogy I always think about is, like Kobe Bryant. The reason why he was a legend is because he had the confidence to take the shots. If you think about his rookie year, he put up 4 air balls in the NBA Finals in the last 5 minutes of the game, a close game. And so anybody else that takes a shot and shoots an air ball, they ain't shoot no more the rest of the game, especially in the fourth quarter. He shoots another 3 air balls. And so my point by me saying that is he took that lesson into the summer and said, I can't be shooting all these shots everywhere. And most people, most entrepreneurs, most salespeople, they're shooting shots everywhere. There's no focus. So he started to grind and was like, no, something, these are my 3 spots. These are my 4 spots that I just perfect. And he shoots thousands and thousands and thousands of shots at those spots. Because when Kobe gets to a spot, they're going in. It's automatic. It's muscle memory because he did it so many times. And so, like, when I think about business from that context, I'm like, I have to perfect this craft. So it's muscle memory. So I find the most leverage approach and system and like strategy. So I get my time back, but I make more money. And so it's the same analogy what Kobe was doing and what I do within this particular niche is you just have to perfect the one thing you're the only one that can take that shot.
And I mean, what helped you develop that sense of fearlessness, like not being afraid to take that shot, even if you just shot 2 air balls before, or if you just got rejected on 105 cold calls, now you still have 200 more to go. Like how did you develop that muscle or that skill itself? Just like being able to keep going and being able to persevere through whatever obstacles are in your way.
I think really what it comes down is to how do you talk to yourself? It's about self-talk. And so for me personally, anytime I feel fear, or if I feel like quitting, I start having a conversation with myself. And I start to think about, how am I going to feel later in the day? How am I going to feel about myself tomorrow if I do not do this thing I know is best for me? If I do not do this thing that I know that is going to challenge me? Because like nobody wants to be a coward to other people, right? But the person you got to impress the most is yourself. And so if I'm a coward to myself, I can't look at myself in the mirror. I can't sleep. I just can't. I can't live like that. I can't be that. And so my self-talk will talk me out of quitting. My self-talk will talk me out of not doing the thing. Now, I might need to go on a 10-minute walk or get my head together, but I'm going back to make that call. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to send the email. I'm going to do the thing because I just can't live with myself. So I think it's about like giving yourself space to have a conversation with yourself, your higher self versus your scared, weak, lower self. And your higher self, if you give it space, is going to have a stern, direct, candid, but loving conversation with yourself and say, dude, you don't want to wake up tomorrow morning and know you did not do the thing you know you need to do. Like it ain't gonna be pretty. So even if you fail again, at least you know you have pride in yourself. And for me, the most important thing is having self-respect and actually doing the things that make you proud of yourself. And so that's really how I learned to flex that muscle, is just like the repetition of failure and just realizing if I quit, I'm just quitting on myself, and I just can't live with that.
Nah, man, that's a deep quote. Actually, I'm writing it down right now. Do the things that make you proud of yourself. And I think that's a great piece of advice, because I know basically everybody in the world deals with these feelings and these emotions, wanting to quit, feeling like you want to give up. But just hearing that response you gave of like, it's about how you talk to yourself. It's about doing the things that make you proud of yourself. Gives you the will to want to continue to fight, gives you the will to want to continue to succeed and be the best version of yourself that you can be. There's an interesting fact or interesting statistic that I read about you, is that you were able to generate over $50 million in equipment finances and counting. Like that number is still growing. So I mean, can you speak a little bit more to that and like what that means and kind of how you were able to accomplish a goal of that size and that magnitude?
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with leverage. And what I mean by leverage is everything in life, there's opportunities to maximize the output with very little input. And so I'm always looking for those lead dominoes that knock over all the other dominoes as long as I push over the one. And so within my business model, I was chasing everybody, making these cold calls to see if they needed my funding services, my financing services. And instead of me continuing to do that, which has zero leverage, that's one-to-one sales. I'm looking for one-to-many sales. So what I was able to figure out is there's a way better model. So I was going after physicians to see if they needed financing to buy medical equipment. That's the nature of my business. And so it's hard because doctors are always in with patients. They're always busy, room to room to room to room. I can never get a hold of them. So I'm spending most of my day in my life, which is the most precious thing I got, which is my time, waiting on hold, leaving voicemails, hoping the receptionist gives him or her the message, that kind of game. So I realized there's a much better, much more efficient method to do this. And so I decided to partner with the equipment sellers. So they're already in front of the doctors. So it's not one-to-one, it's one-to-many. They're talking to hundreds of doctors at any given time that are looking to buy their equipment that they're selling. So all I do is partner with them and say, hey, offer my financing to your doctors to buy the equipment. What sounds better to you? 500 bucks a month or $30,000 up front, plus it's 100% tax deductible. And they're gonna be like, well, yeah, this is great. I would love to offer this to the docs. So every time they talk to a doctor or present their equipment, they offer the financing as well. So it makes it a no-brainer for everybody. So instead of me spending all this time, now they're chasing the clients and they're bringing me the people that are ready to buy and ready to sign because they already know what the monthly payment is because my partner, my equipment seller, already quoted them what the monthly payment's going to be. So these deals just come into my email inbox and they just sign. So this is what I mean by leverage. This is what I mean by one-to-many sales, where you get your time back, but you get your money up. So that is how I was able to put together these massive deals. And most of the deals, they're not huge dollar amounts. These aren't $1 million deals. These are $25,000 deals, $50,000 deals, $150,000 deals. But when you add those up, when you do 1,000 of them, they add up. And so that's how I was able to leverage that model to create the lifestyle and the business. And then that's what I'm teaching other people is how simple and easy this model is that nobody knows about. And everyone thinks people just go to the bank to get loans and they don't understand this sub niche of financing that is open sesame.
Absolutely. And you were able to go straight to the source. You were able to go straight to the to the people that are in contact with the people that you want to be in contact with. I think that's a genius revelation. And you mentioned you developing these different business models over time, kind of through trial and error. But I want to ask and understand, like, how did you gain your business acumen and your business IQ? Was it through podcasts, books, experience, mentorship, or like was it a mix of all of the above?
It's really hard to say because like you don't know. It's kind of like marketing. Like what part of the marketing actually work because it's hard to measure. If I had to speculate on it, I'd have to say 80% of it is through direct experience, through taking action. And the other 20% of it is through podcasts, books, people I've here on the street, just anything in the world that I'm able to observe, conversations, how humans interact with each other, psychological things that I see, going to the mall, watching how people interact, understanding that part about it, and then applying that knowledge to the taking action every day, that 80% part of it, and then learning like, oh yeah, that makes sense why they responded that way. And you kind of triangulate information. So I would say most of it is from this taking action because through action, it's like the whole Kobe thing. Like you got to throw up the air balls before you're going to know, like, okay, that's not my shot.
Right.
That's not the time for that. So it's mostly through action, but a lot of it is through podcasts, because podcasts or YouTube or whatever, because look at where we live right now. Like, we have access to all this information. Like, there's no reason for people to be unsuccessful. If you want to be successful, there is no excuse, especially for Americans. So yeah, man. So I think it's important though, because you get inspired by podcasts, you get inspired by books, you get inspired by YouTube videos. And then sometimes that's all you need to get started with taking the action. And then as you see a little bit of progress, a little bit of momentum, the key is momentum, because the hardest thing is inertia. And inertia is just standing still. It's like going to the gym. Like, yeah, you don't want to go to the gym, but once you get there, you do your first set. Okay, now the juices are flowing. Same thing with cold calling or anything in business related. I don't want to send an email. You send one or two. Okay, now I'm flowing into it. So you just need to get the push just to get started. And sometimes a podcast can do that for you, or a YouTube video.
Absolutely, man. I agree with that 1000%. It's like once you start moving, once you get that flow going, it's hard to stop. And I personally got to experience your expertise in sales and marketing, man, firsthand, through an email that you sent out to me, and that was pretty much how we connected. But I read your subject line and I was like, yeah, this guy's cold. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's a pro at this. But with that being said, what are some of the benefits that you've seen from all the years that you put in perfecting your sales techniques and your marketing techniques, and reaching out to different clients and just becoming more of an effective communicator? What are some of the benefits that you've seen personally?
Well, the benefits are making a shit ton of money and have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
So those are the benefits.
Yeah.
Are you looking for like more like insights, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, insights, benefits, like just the positives that come from knowing how to sell and knowing how to communicate with people, and understanding, like, if I can bring value to this person, or if I can bring value to someone, then I myself will always be quote unquote successful or rich or whatever it is that you're looking for.
Yeah, for me, it's all about. I mean, this is a very deep question, because for me, the thing that drives me is not money, it's not time freedom, it's not location freedom. What drives me is mental freedom, and my mental freedom has to be absent of fear. And so I'm always looking for ways to put myself in situations that I'm fearful of, and then get out of that fear, because I hate fear, because it's not a real thing. It's all imaginary. Everything in life is neutral. And so for me, the key benefit of learning this stuff, which is sales, marketing, number one, I don't even believe in sales. I believe in talking to people, and I'm not talking to you, I'm trying to understand you. Because the most important thing skill-wise is curiosity. And I am so curious about other people and the world in general, in my time here, in my existence here, that it allows me to ask questions to find out and try to understand your situation. Try to understand, where is your head at? Like, why do you think that? Why did you say that? Why, basically, a lot of whys. And from that place, people feel comfortable, because they can tell my true intention is not to sell them anything. I'm not trying to sell you shit. I don't care if you buy or not. I'm just trying to understand, because I feel if you don't buy whatever I'm selling, that's your loss. Because I know, like, kind of like Kobe knows, when I shoot the shot, it's going in. Like, if you work with me and we partner, we're gonna both win. And if you don't want that, then that's cool. So I think my point is, like, I'm always trying to understand the other, because by me understanding you, I understand myself a little bit better, because we're exactly the same. It just comes out different. It just looks a little different. And so that is the key benefit for me to be in sales and an entrepreneur, because sales and entrepreneurship, it rips off this armor, this mask we all wear of who we want to portray that we are. And eventually, if you want to be successful, you have to just show up as your true self, scars and all, and just say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you want to partner? This is what I'm working on. Here's my successes. Here's my failures. Here's what happened. These are the results. What's up? There's nothing to sell. I'm just having a conversation with you. So that's the benefit to me. That's the insight to me, is the whole human experience is about the experience of relation. If there was no humans here in the world, nothing would happen. So the experience is about how we relate to each other and then the grander scheme of everything else. And so to me, it's just a fun game. Like if I'm going to play any game while I'm here, it's going to be the entrepreneurship game because it's just fun. And then the byproduct is all this other freedom I'm talking about, financial, time, location. But I'm going after the mental freedom first and foremost.
Absolutely. I mean, and what I'm kind of getting from that is like you're transparent with the people that you meet. So that's why it's like you don't have to try to sell anything. It's like I want to understand you. I want you to understand me. And in order for us to have an understanding of each other, we both have to be transparent. And if what I have to offer can help you, great. If not, then I appreciate the fact that I still got to learn from you and understand you. It's like you said, you're able to understand yourself better through understanding others. So I think that's dope.
And the thing is about it is I'm not even trying to be understood. I don't care. Now, if you have a question for me, I'm happy to answer it. But my entire objective is to understand you from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective, from a entrepreneurship perspective. Is I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about you. So I am literally talking 10% of the time, and the only thing coming out of my mouth are questions. Until you ask me a question, I don't say shit about anything I offer. Because the problem is, humans, they get nervous and they feel like they have to say something to fill the void versus like, there's nothing to say. There's no more need because now you're just making people feel uncomfortable because you're just talking just to talk. And so that's like one of the cardinal sins that I always see with salespeople or just entrepreneurs in general. They're just trying too hard when it's a lot easier just to sit back, ask questions, just find out who the person is, and then let bygones be bygones and how things are going to unfold are going to unfold. It's almost like dating. Like if you're needy when you're dating someone, you ain't gonna get her because you sound weak because you're needy versus like, I don't need you, but I want you. That's a whole different way to go about it. Like, I don't need you as a client, but I want you as a client because I know I can help you, but I don't need you. So the offer expires on Monday. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's just, it's just like, you got to be honest, you got to be transparent, but you got to be bold in your stance because you know your worth. Like, you're the guy to take the shot.
What role does networking play in your company? How important is that? And then how do you effectively network if it is important, if it does play a role? How do you effectively network being a digital nomad?
Well, networking is a big word, but networking, I'm almost going to call it relationships, are the only thing that we have. The only way you sell anything is through other people. Even people that buy it is through us, right? So it's the most important thing you have. So the way I think about network is leverage. I'm thinking, okay, where's the leverage at? Who has the leverage? Well, you have a podcast. There's leverage there because you have an audience that I don't have. So we should talk. We should become partners. We should have some type of thing going on here. So when I think about like as someone that it travels quite a bit, it doesn't really matter where I'm in the world because I have access to people's names, phone numbers, emails, social media addresses. I can get in touch with you. We can get on Zooms just like this and talk about, hey, how can we help each other out? So if you think about my whole business model is, partnering with people that sell equipment to offer their customers financing. So that's my entire business model is based on networks. And the best way to build a network is building with the smallest possible niche. And the problem is most entrepreneurs want to do it all, want to shoot every shot from the court and throw up a bunch of air balls instead of just looking at that baseline shot only. And so I'm looking for the baseline shots. And so that's how you network. That's how you leverage relationships. Is you become the expert within this one domain, and then within that one domain, the sub niche, and you own it because everyone knows you're the guy, and they always come to you for whatever that thing is.
You've been in this business for 20 years, in this industry for 20 years. What are some roadblocks or lessons that you've learned throughout your career?
Roadblocks. So the number one roadblock is I think the number one roadblock is for most people is getting started. The in this day and age, there's so much room for distraction in reading another book, listening to another YouTube video, instead of putting that down and listening to that subconscious talk to you. Remember we talked about earlier about, giving yourself space to have conversations with yourself, that self-talk. If you never give yourself space to go on a walk with no headphones in, not watching anything, just having that conversation with yourself about why you're scared to pick up the phone, or why you're scared to send the email, or why you're scared to start the business, you can never get clear about, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I get back to the house or get back to the office. And so I think the biggest problem is most people don't get started because they want to pick up another book. They want to go listen to another YouTube video or play another game or whatever, distract themselves by any means necessary than to just get started doing the work. So that's what I've always learned is the best way to do it is first thing in the morning, schedule the time in your calendar, block out, I say no more than 4 hours a day doing one thing that has the highest leverage, and you'd be surprised what can happen to you in 6 months.
Absolutely. Great advice. You kind of touched on this earlier, but I want to ask it again anyway. How do you define success at this point in your career as an entrepreneur / creative / founder / CEO?
Success for me is this right here, this conversation right here, because life is fleeting. It's a blink. And all we have is this moment right now. That's it. So this is success. And for me, it's the realization that I'm alive right now in this moment. That awareness that me and you can both sense right now, I don't know where you are in the world, but I can sense it even in the silence, in the pause. That's success to me. Because from that place is where you're able to build what you dream of building, because you're clear about time and space and the opportunity. For me, success in the future is about gratitude in the moment. And so I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be born when I was born, in the country I was born, with arms, with legs, with a vocal cord. I can do what I can do without me doing or creating a lot of this stuff. Think about it. I didn't have to buy the mic. I didn't have to buy the laptop. I didn't have to buy the cameras. I didn't have to buy the technology, the coffee, the couch, the condo, none of it. I didn't have to create it. I had to buy it. I didn't have to create it. Other people, I leverage other people's ingenuity, and now I get to eat the fruit that I didn't have to plant. So like, and I think about, when I think about it from that term, I'm eating fruit that I didn't have to plant. So what am I planting now for something that I can't eat, but other people can eat? And so that gets me excited. And that's my definition of success.
Nah, that was deep though. That was fire. And that's something I kind of struggle with myself too, is like trying to be present in the moment. Because you're always thinking about the future or what you have to do next or what's going on. So that's been a hard concept for me to grasp. Is like, just be here right now, just be present, just be grateful for what you have. So when I do find moments of like, all right, where I'm like, thank you, God, for this moment. Thank you for it, for whatever. It is a good feeling. It is like kind of like freeing, like, okay, I can breathe, like I can just be here right now. I don't have to worry about the future or think about the past or whatever the case may be. So I think that's some really great advice. What would you say is the most important reason for your success right now?
Success is easy as long as you have two things. Number one is you have to have a burning desire for whatever you want to do. If you have that, the next thing that you have to have, but it's kind of a natural byproduct from the first thing, is you just have to be relentlessly persistent. And if you have those two things, it's impossible not to lose, not to win. It's impossible. You can't lose. If you are consistent and you know why you're doing the thing, you can't lose. you're going to figure out a way. You're going to figure out how to turn those air balls into legendary status. As long as you do it over a 12-month, 24-month, 60-month, 10-year period. You can't lose. It's impossible.
It's a lot of truth in that, right? Like it's to, I know this isn't what you're saying exactly, but it's like to be the best or to be number one. I'm super competitive. I grew up playing sports, so I always want to be the best and be number one. But to be the best, you have to be like obsessive. You have to obsess over your craft or obsess over whatever you're trying to be the best at. And in the moment, I think to people who may have not found their obsession yet or what their burning desire, it could look crazy. Like you could look insane doing it, but it has to be done. Like you have to do that. You have to look crazy to the outside world. And it's crazy trying to explain it to people too, because people look at you like, why would I know? I can do this and this, but it's like, nah, you have to be obsessed. Like you have to be obsessed with your craft if you want to be number one. That's the only way to, if that's your goal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I know about successful people. They have this cycle. And so I think the reason why most people are not successful is they don't tap into the first and most important part of the cycle is they don't tap into their insecurities. They actually try to ignore, squash, drink, smoke their insecurities away. And so if you tap into your insecurities and you say, I know I'm insecure and I don't like this shit, then you will find the discipline, which is step 2, to do whatever you have to do to get rid of that insecurity. So, maybe you need to go to the gym or make the cold calls or whatever it is to get that insecurity to be gone. So you become extremely hyper disciplined because you look at the insecurities clearly and said, this shit ain't gonna fly no more. I can't be scared all the time. From the discipline breeds the success. And that's where you make the money, you have the freedom, you have the cars, whatever the hell you want, you got it. And then from that point, your ego is through the roof. Because if you had weak insecurities, you got disciplined, you had the results, you're like, yeah, I got a big ass head because I'm a baller. I'm a boss now. But then here's the problem. When you're looking out at the rooftop, you're looking around and you're like, oh, they got a penthouse over there though. Man, I wish I had that. And all of a sudden I get insecure again. Like, I'm not good enough. I need to have that car and that yacht and this and that. And so the insecurity kicks up again. And it's just like, shit, I don't like this insecurity. I remember that 5 years ago. Time for me to get disciplined again. So then you get to a new level and it goes over and over and over again. As you get these new results, you get a bigger head and then the insecurity comes because there's always a guy doing better than you. And so I don't even know what my main point was on this, to be honest with you, but I think it's always important. If you want to be successful, tap into your insecurities. Don't run from them. Don't push them away. Don't try to hide from them, act like they don't exist. No, I'm a scared little bitch because of X, Y, and Z, because this happened to me when I was a little kid. So I'm going to become disciplined so I can change that person who I used to be into who I am today. And this is the whole idea, like we were talking about as far as like the gratitude for the moment. The moment is a new opportunity for me to create something for tomorrow. Like, why would you piss this away or shit on God? What he gave you, what she gave you, or whatever it is, how you got here, which is a miracle in itself. Like, if you know the evolution of the whole galaxy, the chances of you and I both being here talking with these devices is like 0.00000 trillion to 1. It's unfathomable if you really think about it. And so if I'm going to be here, I'm going to show up with this single task, this single focus, and execute it to the best of my ability. Then I'm going to turn the page and try again tomorrow. And it's about focus. It's about, like, when, like you were saying, you're struggling to be in present because you're trying to do too many things. Like, I do the same thing. I'm trying to do too many things, so my mind is racing while I'm washing the dishes. Why am I thinking about anything else besides washing the dishes? Like, I should be feeling the water on my hands and being in that moment. And when I'm talking to you, I should be engaged in what we're doing here 100%. If I'm shooting baskets, if I'm making calls, if I'm not fracturing my mental capacity, I'm thinking about single-minded focus. That is the secret to any success in anything.
Absolutely, man. Nah, that's deep. You know, I'm taking these high Pilates classes now, right? And so at the end of the class, I feel like, shout out to High Pilates. I feel like it's super brainwashed, like super conditioning you to want to go there and be there and do this. But that's a whole nother topic. But at the end of every like class, they play this song. It's like super brainwashing type of song. Shout out to them. But it says like, don't think about all the things that you feel, just be lucky to feel, or something like that. So when you were talking about when you washing the dishes and I'm thinking about XYZ, it's like, why am I thinking about that? I should be grateful I can feel the water on my hands, and I have dishes to wash and water to wash it with and all of that. So I mean, I agree with that 1000%, man. But what does the future of Creators Learn look like to you? Like, what's your vision? What's your vision for the future for your company?
Yeah, so the vision for me has always been this idea of bringing my business model that has typically been locked in corporate America's grips to normal people that are hungry and that want to create a life and business that they love. And so you don't have to be a sales expert. You don't have to know anything about finance. This is fourth grade math. You don't have to know anything about marketing. As long as you have the hunger to get better and to learn and be open and a sponge, then I believe anybody can do this business model, because it's based on not finance, not sales, it's based on relationships with other humans. And the way the world is going, especially post COVID, is the old garb of salespeople and business people is changing. They're retiring, they're dying, and the new young blood that is coming on the scene does not want to work with big corporate America. They want to work with one-on-one with other humans and have direct relationships with the people they work with. I mean, just think about how, the rise of Airbnb or the rise of Uber, it's the same concept, but we're going to use this model of financing the equipment to put this in the hands of normal people that want to create this crazy business that is super easy, super lucrative, super freeing, but also super fun, because these partners that you partner with that are the equipment sellers from all over the country, they become your friends. They become teammates to help us all win. I'm putting food on their table. I'm helping their kids get through college, and they're doing the same for me. So it's like it's like an amazing business with no overhead, and you're just leveraging other people's networks, other people's money, and you're just brokering these deals. So it's like anybody can do this. So for me, I envision it at least 10,000 members into this program, and who knows what's going to happen after that? Because, like I was saying, when you're walking in the dark, and you're like, I don't even know where the hell I'm going. All of a sudden, as you can see a little bit further ahead, all of a sudden these doors start open for you. So I'm really not like a huge goal person per se. I'm more of a process person for the day, because that's the only thing I can control is right now. But we'll see what the future holds.
Absolutely, man. Jermane, thank you so much for your time today, man. Thank you for dropping jewels on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it, man. This was for sure a great episode, man. So thank you for your time.
No, man, thanks for having me. I always enjoy just talking about what I've learned, and also the funny thing about it is, I'm never talking to anybody but myself. Like, these conversations are a conversation that I am just having with myself. It's like, this is almost like a journal dialogue, if you will, for me to remind myself of the things that I found success in, to not stray too far from, Jermane. Like, keep these drilled into my mind, because humans, man, we got short-term memory. We know what to do on Tuesday, but we forgot on Wednesday what we're supposed to be doing. And so, like, this helps me remind myself of, like, my mission, my goals, what I'm doing, what do I stand for, what do I believe in. So thanks for the opportunity for me to remind myself about who I am.
Absolutely.